is my co-host, Dr. Joseph Perez. How are you today, Dr. Joe?
Hello, Tiffany. I'm doing fine, thanks. Hope you are too, ma'am.
Of course, absolutely. And so, Dr. Joe, before we get started with our Thinking Green edition, is there anything you'd like to share? I know you're always on the move and always have such interesting updates for us.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I just got back from keynote speech over at the Code Stock conference last week. That's Where was that? That was in Knoxville. I was going to say Phoenix, but I was in Phoenix the week before at another speaking at another conference, and then 2 weeks, no, a week from next Tuesday, I'll be speaking at the PRSA National Conference in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I get to take my wife with me. I'm not going to Hawaii without taking her.
Oh, I would hope not. That's a
Oh,
fantastic destination.
yes, ma'am. Never been there. Really looking forward to it. How about you? What's going on with you?
Well, I was recently awarded 10 Most Inspiring CMOs of 2022. So I'm very excited about
All
that. I've got a
right.
new podcast I was featured on, also by C-Level Focus Magazine was the award, and Corazon had a podcast with me as well as an article. So big things, very excited about it.
That's awesome. That is awesome, Tiffany. Hearty congratulations to you, ma'am. You absolutely deserve it for sure.
Well, thank you so much.
Yep.
Now back to Thinking Green. And so when we came up with the name Thinking Green, it was perfect timing because we've got Earth Day coming up on April 22nd, and our Earth really needs some attention. So Thinking Green, it's a perfect time for that. Wouldn't you agree, Dr. Joe?
Absolutely, Tiffany.
And when we
Perfect
say
time for it.
Thinking Green, what does that mean to you?
Well, you know, I would say that it's having the mindset of not wanting to harm the environment, to be making decisions based on that mindset, not just decisions, but also making and taking actions, or maybe not taking actions. Refrain from certain actions that are going to keep my behavior in line with that mindset that cares about what happens with the environment. How about you?
Excellent.
What's your thought?
Well, for me, Thinking Green is really practicing things that are environmentally friendly and green being the planet. So, with the planet in mind. And looking at the theme for this year's Earth Day, it is invest in our planet. And I think we all could invest in our planet. So I'm looking forward to outlining some different ways that people can do that. And I just want to share with everyone a few different statistics that I found. And in summer of 2021, we saw a record number of forest fires. Dr. Joe, I know you know the answer, but for everyone in the audience, it's 187,114 forest fires, and that is only in summer of 2021. So our planet's heating up and our oceans are heating up and we are in hot water, literally. And it is the surface temperature is higher than it has been for the past 150 years. And so that's going to cause problems in the Arctic, Antarctica. Things are going to melt. So we have to come up with some really innovative technology to help turn things around here. And it's also this week, we're looking at a lot of snowstorms. I mean, Canada and the central United States are going through extreme weather conditions. There's tornadoes and blizzards. And it's like our planet's really trying to tell us something. Wouldn't you agree, Dr. Joe?
Oh yeah, crazy the way you never know what's going to happen. It's one thing after the other. It's almost like some special effects movie that you see, and it's just bad.
And as we look at some of the things that are impacting that, well, there's emissions. And most people think carbon emissions and they think vehicles, but it's also having to do with the number of crypto mines that are happening. There's all of the blockchain that's racking up energy. Even NFTs rack up energy, which we're going to talk more about in my upcoming webinar. But crazy what's happening there. But back to the electric vehicles. What do you think, Dr. Joe? Do you think EVs are going to be enough to turn things around?
EVs. Well, you know, here's my take on it. Electric vehicle, I can't even say it. Electric vehicles are good, all right, but it's a great start. But honestly, I don't think it's going to be quite enough. I think there should be a holistic approach that involves multiple industries and a unified effort in both conservation and active participation. Um, However, I don't know, maybe I can include a slightly different perspective, playing devil's advocate for just a second here. These alternative energy efforts here, are they positive? Are they good things? Well, yeah, I'm always about innovations, continuous improvement, challenging the status quo, seeking to do better today than you did yesterday and even better tomorrow. I'm all over that, of course. But here's a word of caution. Again, as a devil's advocate there. I don't think the devil's advocate, or I don't think the technology has matured enough in some people's minds for them to be economically sufficient or economically viable as some other conventional assets. While electronic or electrical vehicles are typically cheaper to operate, certainly cheaper to operate than gasoline-powered cars, they're also significantly more expensive, and it might take a while to recuperate that extra cost, right? Someone might argue, well, why should I spend $37,000 for a Nissan Leaf when I can get a Nissan Sentra for 22,000, right? Um, Now, does that argument make electric vehicles a bad thing? No, of course not. They're a great thing. See, I believe more people need to see it that way before it can be that way, right? It's all a matter of perception. All right, more research and development are needed into battery storage capacity, battery efficiency, the cost involved, the economies of scale need to kick in, with larger and larger production lines of each of the models by manufacturers. That's going to bring costs down. And not only that, public perception needs to shift. Now, it doesn't mean that we take no action at all. And it's not good enough to complain about, the limited range of the EV. What's going to happen if you get stuck in the snow in one of those things and you run out of juice? All right, all right. All those complaints, they don't mean anything if they're not accompanied by better ideas. Okay, it simply means we continue to find better and more innovative ways to maybe leverage existing technology. And on top of that, then start pouring that extra research and development into new technology. Okay, talking about increasing solar cell efficiency, improving wind turbine reliability so it doesn't have a bad name. What about hydrogen fuel cell availability, biodiesel compatibility, okay, and even interim steps like using cleaner coal, more highly refined and cleaner petroleum, seeking to improve the fuel economy of the gas-powered vehicles we have now. And dare I say this without people throwing rocks at me, safer and cleaner nuclear power. Okay, all of this can help augment the viability of these renewable energy sources, change the mindset of people. And, here's the point. The status quo isn't good enough, not anymore. I don't know that it ever was, but we really need to keep on improving, keep on doing more research, keep pressing forward to be as economical as we possibly can with these renewable energy sources. That's how I see it.
Thanks, Dr. Joe. And I mean, the thing about EVs is that it still takes electric. Electric still comes from somewhere, and you still have to release emissions to get electric. So, I mean, that has to be factored
in. Yeah.
And then you've got the fact that the electric vehicles, I was at a convention event, and they were talking about that it takes 10 years to recoup the energy it takes to make an electronic vehicle or electric vehicle. Wow. But it's still, in that retrospect, I think we're a little late getting started for this. I mean, I would say that if we would have started 10 years ago, we would be in much better shape than we are right now. But at this point, we really have to look at the data. And I'm not even sure the life time or the life expectancy of an electric vehicle. I mean, how long does an electric vehicle stay on the road compared to a gas-powered vehicle? That's another thing to take into consideration, because the solar panels, they don't last for more than, I would say 20 years on the maximum side, but you are running out of the natural resources and the rare earth minerals to be able to make these solutions. So we need to really play our cards wisely and to invest in our planet the right way. So Next, let's talk about sustainability, though, Dr. Joe. And
Sure.
sustainability is something that's on everybody's mind right now. It's something that everyone's talking about. But what is sustainability to you? And can you give us some examples of sustainable
Sure.
initiatives?
Absolutely, Tiffany. Okay, funny you should say that, because that's exactly where I'm headed in my mindset here. Okay, and in addition to all those specific technological advances, both in developing new technologies and leveraging existing technologies more efficiently, I honestly believe that sustainability is, or perhaps it should be, agnostic of technology. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, it's more of a mindset, again, foundational to the approach that one has to how they're going to live their lives on this earth, the only planet that's been entrusted to us, and for the foreseeable future, the only one that we're actually able to live on. Okay, so sustainability, in my thinking, refers to any activities, practices, philosophies, actions, whatever you want to call them, that at least try to balance maintaining a viable economy while avoiding the depletion of natural resources, and at the same time, somehow ensuring the well-being of the general population of people who live on that planet. It's a combination of sociological, environmental, and economical factors. I really like the way author John Elkington expressed it. Okay, he coined this phrase: people, planet, and profit. And this was way back in 1994. Okay, he called those the threefold pillars of sustainability. Okay, to that point, in a recent survey of more than 2,000 international contractors, builders, and developers, nearly half of these people said that they expected to build more than 50% of their projects as so-called green buildings in the next year or so. Now, among the most popular of these green building practices cited in this survey, okay, were things like net zero buildings. That's where the building's energy consumption is roughly equal to its energy output. Okay. Also, using sustainable materials like stuff called grasscrete, bamboo, recycled plastic, and so forth. One specific initiative that I read about, and this is really, really fascinating to me, was the development of these permeable pavers, is what they call them. I mean, these things, they provide a paved surface with the functional benefits of conventional paving, but unlike impermeable concrete, asphalt, and so forth, the materials these permeable pavers contain and the combination thereof allow for liquid to drain directly through them into a detention base. Acts sort of like a retention pond, or directly into the ground itself. I mean, it's amazing things like that are being developed. Um, but all this, regardless of what the technology is, okay, covers a whole host of initiatives. Um, they take that type of approach in whatever solution they propose. Okay, that is one that at least maintains or sustains. That's where we get the word sustainability, right? Or at least attempts to sustain that delicate balance that involves society, the environment, and the economy all at the same time. Stated differently, to use Elkington's words again, people, planet, and profit. Although, unfortunately, some are more interested in the profit part of that than in the people or the planet. But at least some good efforts are underway. The problem is we got to have more like them. What's your take on that, Tiffani?
Well, I like that you said delicate balance. And I really feel that we're at a tipping point right now because with
No.
more technology, using more energy, even though these solutions may one day help turn things around and correct things, right now it's just pushing us further on the tipping point. And so I don't know, it's tough. But now looking at ESG, because I just did a great interview with one of the people that are going to be on my Shift to Earth 4.0 webinar. We were talking about sustainable manufacturing. So
Yeah.
sustainability in manufacturing is limiting waste, it's reusing materials, a lot of things there, but we're going to talk about that in 2 weeks. So we'll leave it for that conversation. But ESG is environment, social, and governance. And so a lot of companies are looking at this not only because it's good for the planet, but because it's good for business. Because people want to invest their money, they want to spend with companies that are doing good for the environment and have those ESG initiatives in mind. So, Dr. Joe, what do you think about ESG?
Excellent question, Tiffany. Um, what you said about it being good for business. It harkens back to that third P in the Elkinson's three Ps that we said a minute ago, the profit piece of it. See, people who, I don't know, maybe they might not care about this whole thing of conservation and green thinking for its own sake intrinsically, as we would. At the very least, they need to see what's in it for them, the profit motive. Okay, they see benefit. As far as bringing these disparate sources together, the environment, social, and governance, as you said, the ESG that you mentioned, we got to remember that they themselves are disparate and their mindsets are disparate. Okay. Getting any sort of consensus among them, well, it's never really easy, but it's certainly a good thing if you can do it, if you can pull it off. Okay. See, since the issue we're talking about is a multifaceted problem. As such, it's going to require a multifaceted and multidisciplinary solution. So, in talking about these ESG initiatives or any initiatives in general, all right, an initiative, no matter how well conceived and thought out it might be, without the will to execute, it's only just that. It's only an idea. It's only an initiative. And it's not until these disparate people from these different fields, the E, the S, and the G that you mentioned, okay, can come together, can see the benefits in the initiatives, can make concrete plans and commit to concrete actions for these initiatives, right? Well, can you, when we do all that, can we say that there's any concrete progress if it's just an idea? No, it's when the ideas become reality. They have to find that common ground to know that what they're doing is for the greater good. Okay. See, you cannot achieve the greater good until after you found the common ground, especially when you're dealing with disparate groups like that. Wouldn't you agree, Tiffany?
Absolutely, Dr. Joe. And I think that what I've been seeing is that a lot of these different ESG and sustainability initiatives, they outline the who, what, where, when, why, but they're not explaining the how. And so
How?
the how is so important because that's the roadmap, that's the strategic plan.
Yes.
Or if this goes wrong, then we do this. If this goes wrong, we do this. And you get data, and then you get data driven results, and you put that into practice, and it's available in real time. And we can do it with emissions, we can do it with so many things. It just that how really needs to be laid out a little clearer, I believe. But at the end of
Exactly.
it, really all boils down to the reduce, reuse, recycle, and rethink the way we've been doing things because it has
Right.
not been working through industries 1, 2, and 3. So we have to make industry 4.0 different, and we have to do things in a new way because still those core reduce, reuse, recycle, if everyone really put that into practice every day, we wouldn't be in this pot of water, if you will, right,
Hmm.
Dr. Joe?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. It's again, it harkens back to attitude. It harkens back to what's your mindset. I've always been about that zero waste thing. I've always been a strong advocate of the waste not, what not mentality. Okay. To put it in perspective, your audience knows, they know I'm a Christian. Okay, that's my faith. I make no bones about it. I don't ram it down anybody's throat, but at the same time, I'm not ashamed of it either. Okay, and as such, my faith both informs and defines pretty much every aspect of my life. At least it should, including this one that we're talking about today. And what some people have referred to as Judeo-Christian ethic, and it's not exclusive to Christianity. I'm just saying it in my faith. Okay, and part of that includes the mindset to not be wasteful, to view any resource that we can access as a blessing from God, but also as a responsibility. Okay, from the very beginning, God gave Adam the responsibility to take care of the Garden of Eden, and in a large sense, the planet Earth. Okay, some people don't believe that, but I do. God's entrusted it to us as mankind. Now, in my faith, that responsibility, that stewardship, if you will, is something that I believe very strongly has been passed down to every generation since then. So, in our present day and time, regardless of one's faith might be, I feel that when I'm wasteful, when I'm not following sound conservation, when I don't care, well, I feel like I'm falling down on the job, as it were. I am failing to carry out the stewardship, the responsibility that God entrusted to mankind. Okay, so to the extent that we can set the example for others, regardless of their faith, by not being wasteful, by encouraging our fellow man to do the same, reduce, right, not be wasteful. Okay, to take care of the only planet that we have to live on, well, that's the extent to which I believe we can help steer us back to the right direction.
I think that's great, Dr. Joe, and I completely agree. And when it comes to being wasteful with even energy, I mean,
Yeah,
this energy is part of the colossal problem that we're dealing with. I think so many people are looking at energy as this right that they have. When you
yeah,
actually look at the numbers for energy poverty and how many people don't have energy at all, I mean, there's a significant number of people around the world that don't have access to energy, clean water, or clean air. And the whole planet is going to be like that unless we take this seriously and everyone does their
exactly.
part. You have to recycle, like turn the lights off. And that's where technology is making it even easier for people to be able to have energy efficiency, be a part of their lives. And even if you've got a busy schedule, we've all left the lights on. Let's face it. At one point or another, somewhere in our past, we've all done it. But now with all these different technology advancements, there's technology that can do it for you. So now it's really getting to a point where you've got to realize that it's everyone's responsibility. Everyone's got to roll up their sleeves and dig in and do what they can. And if it means riding a bike, walking, carpooling, I mean, those are simple, easy ways that you can do that. I mean, when it comes to grocery shopping, there's lots of grocery stores that don't even give out bags now, where you have to bring your own bag or box to put your groceries in. And in Europe, that's huge. So, I mean, I think there's a lot that individual people can do, and we can't put it all on government to make these regulations. We all just have to start right now, or else it's going to be too late. What do you think, Dr. Joe?
Oh, exactly. If we don't start now, as you said, we've got to change our mindset. We've got to be thinking along these lines. Okay. I do believe that it is indeed all about mindset. Um, President Theodore Roosevelt, who created the U.S. Forestry Service and helped set aside more than 230 million acres of public land for conservation, he once said this: the conservation of natural resources is the fundamental problem. Unless we solve that problem, it'll avail us little to solve all others. I agree with that statement 100%. I mean, that was more than 100 years ago that he said it, and that was during a time which many people believed our natural resources were inexhaustible. Some of Roosevelt's writings, Teddy Roosevelt, has some grave warnings about the dangers of pollution and waste. They were ahead of their time, and that was backed up by some of the accomplishments that he did in his presidency, which, besides those 230 million acres, included using his authority to establish something like 150 national forests, helping to create 23 national parks, which includes the one that's, the Grand Canyon. But more than that, Roosevelt wanted to foster the idea that it starts with how we look upon our resources, the ones that are on this earth. Okay, that's this intention that we're talking about, right? I believe that's where it starts, right here, right here. I'm a firm believer that right actions begin with right thinking. And if I don't get that through my thick skull, the fact that there is indeed a limit to those natural resources we have left, okay, regardless of my political bent or my faith or lack of faith or whatever, we might as well start digging out the gas masks and rationing water even more, okay? I believe it's time for us to wake up, all right? Consider this: more than 20% of the world's oxygen, right, the stuff that's in the air we breathe and we got to breathe, is produced by the Amazon rainforest, the same rainforest that's being depleted by deforestation. Okay, what about water? You talked about water. Okay, you know, what, 71% of our planet is covered in water. Well, it's just here's the thing: more than 97% of that is salt water, and that leaves only about 2.5% of that water as the type we can drink. Okay, I read one statistic the other day, Tiffany. If we keep dumping plastics into the Earth's oceans by 2050, there's going to be more plastic than fish in the ocean, and that's crazy. That's unsustainable. Okay, what am I saying? The heart of the problem is a problem of the heart. Okay, that's where it starts, right here, right here. Intention, passion, desire, conviction. Okay, you're convinced you're going to act responsibly when it comes to conserving the resources of this still beautiful planet. Because, like I said earlier, okay, Tiffany, it's the only one we've got. So we really need to be taking better care of it. It all starts with intention. It all starts right here. It all starts with each of us doing our part and encouraging our fellow man to do the same.
Dr. Joe, I couldn't agree more. And this whole plastic situation, they're seeing that microplastics are even being found in humans now. So the
Yeah.
plastic problem is getting really severe. And with the oceans, we even have Fukushima. They just had another earthquake there, and they still haven't gotten the spill from years and years and years ago under control. I mean, it's still adding to the ocean pollution, and
Yeah.
those are food supply. That's so many things, and it's so important for the earth. So I really hope that some people that are watching come up with some technology to help solve some of these problems and do things a little bit.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. You can taking these things into consideration and knowing that regardless of your political bent, whether you believe in all of this or not, whether you go to one extreme and make wild predictions about doomsday that are way out of line, or you go to the other extreme and stick your head in the ground and like an ostrich and think that there's no problem at all, just because some wacko said some crazy thing. There is a problem. It is something that we need to recognize. It is something that it's going to take a shifting of the paradigm of how we think. What is our mindset about what's going on? Where it's our mind to mind, as the title of our show here, right? Put our minds together, and you may not think that you can solve all the problems on your own, but if each person does their part and each of us do these things incrementally, then we can make a difference. We can arrest what's happening while there's still time.
And you said the magic words there, shifting of the mind. And so
Yes.
We're going to be talking about the shift to Earth 4.0 and how Industry 4.0 will affect our planet based on industries 1, 2, and 3, and look at the environment, climate change. We've got a great panel of speakers. That event's coming up on Thursday, April 28th, and you can register now at iotmktg.com/register. I really encourage everyone, no matter what your interests are, there's a little something in that webinar for everyone, and it's a really important topic, so I hope everyone can attend that. And we also have next month's Mind2Mind, and the topic for that one is education appreciation, which I know brings home to you, Dr. Joe.
It's my passion. I was an educator for 10 years, and I can hardly wait to be on that show with you, to serve together as co-hosts to raise public awareness of education.
Well, as we wrap things up, Dr. Joe, any final thoughts before you're off to Hawaii?
Yeah, well, in Hawaii, it's, talk about temperate weather. It's nice. Here, it's kind of wild in North Carolina. Sometimes you experience all 4 seasons. I mean, we experience all 4 seasons. That doesn't really bother me, and it's not all that unusual. But all 4 seasons on the same day, no, that's where I draw the line. Thankfully, it's not that way in Hawaii. So I'm looking forward to enjoy some of the nice natural resources that we still have left in Hawaii.
We've had 70-mile-an-hour winds all week here in Las Vegas, so I haven't blown away yet, but my whole yard has been destroyed. So
oh my word! I got to mow mine. It's been raining, so so well,
So we,
you know,
we send our best to everyone that you're getting through this wacky weather the best we can.
amen to that. Yeah, and the pollen. Hold your nose, breathe, or something. Yeah,
So
we'll get
until
through
our
it.
webinar at the end of the month and our Mind to Mind broadcast next month, happy Easter, everyone, and do what we can for the planet and start thinking green, or continue to think green, whatever your stance is, but green, 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 green.
Absolutely, absolutely. Happy Easter, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you, Dr. Joe. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.